Sif's blood. Barely survived that encounter. I'll bring you a new transmission. Vode An.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Vode An. We're on episode 7. This is episode 2 of the little mini series that we're calling Before the Dark Times, where we're going through the 1998 Republic's comic, the Star Wars comic by Dark Horse. Today we are doing the first story arc. Jedi Council Acts of War was sort of setting up for this. We're doing the first story arc, which I believe is the first 6 issues, which is called Prelude to Rebellion. This was written by... Oh, crap, I don't have the book. Let me get it. It's written by Mike Richardson, and it was... Who did the art? It doesn't really say. Oh, Anthony Wynn. So, wait. I'm reading something else. Jan Stranad wrote the story. Anthony Wynn did the art. I was reading something else. Tidus, do you want to talk about it real quick? About the story?
Like just describing the story in general?
Well, yeah, the comic. I know you said you kind of wanted to do that, so...
Well, I mentioned on the last one, is like with these type of videos, I don't really have too much to say because my whole commentary for the Clone Wars stuff is I was just saying that chronologically, where does it fit into the timeline? What does it do in the timeline? With this shit, I can't really say much unless you want me to just like give a synopsis of like what the plot is. I can do that.
Well, low key, I need a synopsis because I don't really remember everything that happened in that damn book because it was so freaking boring. So you can write a synopsis. I think that'd be great.
Okay. So in that case, the book basically starts off on Syria. There is this Twi'lek dickhead that's representing the Republic. I think his name was Silas. And he is basically wanting technological renovation for Syria, but it's kind of like he's not being honest, you know. He wants their malleum and turn for them getting quote unquote technological advancements, i.e., building citadels on Syria, destroying their livestock and their grass, and just kind of like making it more industrial. And the elders of Syria are pushing back against that. But Republic keeps sending their proxies to Syria. So Drawn, he's the human guy. Drawn basically starts as a youth movement where like he's trying to radicalize the youth to get them to fucking you vote for technology, join the Republic and whatnot. So Ki-Adi-Mundi basically goes on a mission to investigate it. It ends up that his daughter Sylvan is involved. Sylvan has a stupid friend that like takes Ki-Adi-Mundi's lightsaber and like kills a guy in the street because he's like horsing around. Then Ki-Adi-Mundi goes on a long adventure to apprehend him. They go off into space. Afant Mon, the background character from Return to Jedi, gets involved. He takes them to Tatooine, and they basically just go into Jabba's palace, and like Afant Mon wanted to. I'm trying to remember what the crux of that even was. I think it was just like he was trying to bring the Malleum or something to Jabba, and then they wanted to kill Sylvan and her friend Chwin because they're loose ends. They don't want anyone to have a report of what happened. So Ki-Adi-Mundi basically shows up at the last second with the droids, saves his daughter, saves a girl, and then he goes back home, recognizing the importance of his family. And even though he may not have a son, he has multiple daughters, multiple wives that do care for him, and then he should focus on them before anything else. And that's kind of the plot of the comic, aside from the end at the part where like he's basically called in by Yoda to come back to the council, which is supposed to reference what we just read, Acts of War. Micah Giat had just died, so Ki-Adi-Mundi is going to be taking his place on the council.
There you go. So I'm gonna give my thoughts first because they're really quick. I don't really have a whole lot on this. I mean, neat ideas in the story. Effin Mon being in it. Now, let me actually bring him up in case people watching don't remember who that is. He's from Return of the Jedi. He's one of the weirdest looking aliens.
He's ugly as hell.
He's ugly, and in this comic, he really didn't. He didn't stick with me. To be honest.
He is. Let me just share my screen here, real quick. He's this dude right here on the left. You can see him in the back in Return of the Jedi if you can pay attention. He looks like an elephant. You know, that's kind of where he got it from.
Big boy.
So, yeah, that's Effin Mon. Pretty. I mean, he's a cool, alien, and it's really cool to see that he was in this. I liked it. I didn't have a problem with that. He's force sensitive, which I thought was interesting. I'm gonna go ahead and bring this back up. He was force sensitive, kind of cool. Apparently, obviously, his species has a long lifespan because this is before the Phantom Menace, and he first shows up in Return of the Jedi, so that's like 50 years later. Almost more like 40 something years later. Anyway, that was cool. There was new aliens. You got to see Saria, their culture, the planet. You get to see a little bit of Republic politics. The Trade Federation played a small role in the story. I mean, those are interesting things. It's just the way it was executed, and it went really fast, and I didn't really get to connect with any of the characters. I mean, Ki-Adi-Mundi obviously you get to connect to. He is the main. This is a Ki-Adi-Mundi story, but I don't know. I didn't really care for it. I just found it to be really boring, to be honest with you. I mean, but like the crux of the story is you get to find out why he's on the council. If you're really concerned about how he got on the council, this story answers it. But that's just my thoughts. I mean, neat ideas. The art was okay. It was kind of funny at times, to be honest with you. Well, and then yeah, I mean the art was good. It was just kind of, it's dated 90s art. There was like some droids that helped him out when he was trying to get his daughter back. I thought those droids looked kind of cool. Jabba's in it, which is neat. There were some flashback scenes with Ki-Adi-Mundi as a young Padawan being trained by Yoda, which was really cool. Those are very few though, but I still like them.
I don't mean to interject, but I was gonna mention at some point is I said in the group chat before you came on, but those scenes where it's like Ki-Adi-Mundi training under Yoda, those are like a separate comic. They were like these short comics they had released back in the 90s, and for the last 2 issues of this 5 and 6, they just like sandwiched them all in there. That's kind of like when the story ends, it doesn't really end, and it cuts back to like the flashback shit.
Yeah, that does make sense because reading it does not make it clear it's a flashback. I mean, you end up concluding that it is, but it's not like super clear that it is. But those are my thoughts. Neat ideas, but I did not really care for the execution. Cam, what'd you think about it, brother?
I think it was hit or miss at parts. Like the pacing of the comic was kind of like the scenes with like a young Ki-Adi-Mundi really hit the pacing, because some of the scenes, like I didn't even know the context. There's like there's some scenes where like, oh, he's a young Jedi in training, like the one with it's not part of the actual comic. It's the issue 0 where he's like a young Ki-Adi-Mundi training with Yoda. But like some of the scenes where like it's a young Ki-Adi, like there's one scene in particular where like he's leaning against a bulkhead, and I thought that was just some random fucking Syrian, and I was like, oh, that's Ki-Adi-Mundi? Oh, okay. So at parts, it just kind of took me out of it, because I'm thinking like that these are just random like Syrian characters, but I'm realizing they're Ki-Adi-Mundi. But I think for me, the whole Serene culture stood out. That's one of the standouts. Is like the whole like they don't have a lot of men, so they have to take multiple wives and just have a lot of kids to like keep their population up. And the whole like ties into the whole theme of like Kiarimuni really wants a boy, and given how their culture works, that makes sense. They need someone else to pass on the family genes and have more children. I think that's an interesting way to do an alien culture. The robots that you mentioned, I think were interesting. They didn't really feel. I know me and Tidus talked about this like privately last night, but like a lot of the ships and robots that I liked. Some of them I liked. Some of them look terrible. Like the who's the character we mentioned last night? Like was it the Dark Woman ship? It just looks like a fucking droideka.
The Dark Woman ship. It looks
Yeah.
terrible.
It looks very, very, very bad. But then there's like Kiarimundi's ship that he flies. Looks like a really sleek, like modern jet fighter, which I like that design. That was really cool. One of the robots though kind of looks like a Terminator, like those like the tracked Terminator robots from the third movie at the end of the movie when they're destroying the Skynet facility. I was like, oh, is this thing gonna pull out like laser miniguns and kill all those like insects on the ship or something? So I kind of thought that, but the plot itself was fine. It wasn't too like fancy. It wasn't too like too big, too crazy. It was just Kiarimuni gets involved in a conspiracy involving his daughter, and then you have the Republic like abusing another planet full of people trying to press themselves on them. Again, I think I think with the because I know we talked about the whole like old versus new generation kind of thing, and that's there. But I feel like a theme that gets touched on is modern powers trying to encroach on like smaller third world countries. Like it's very much like the whole Republic trying to take Syria's resources and give them this technology and trying to industrialize the planet. Very much feels like what America or like any other like modern nation trying to colonize like other smaller third world countries and trying to rapidly industrialize them for their resources.
Like a theme of imperialism.
Yeah, pretty much.
I mean, it tracks like a lot of '90s Star Wars media's. Like, I guess it's outside of the post Jedi stuff, most of it is kind of at least centered around imperialism.
Like this definitely feels like an allegory for like Britain and like the rest of Europe going into Africa and trying to like industrialize and strip it of its resources.
I mean, maybe there is kind of like a defined context of like
Yeah,
they want their resources and they're trading resources for technological evolution. But it's kind of what I was saying at first is like it's very backhanded because their technological evolution is going to pollute their world. It's going to destroy their livestock. It's going to like tear down everything that is traditional and lively about the planet, and in replacement of like this industrialized republic society.
Yeah, and that's very much like the parallels to our world. You have these imperialist like modern nations coming in and practically destroying their culture and like their like just like long traditions and like causing like environmental damage and it rapidly industrializing a nation that's not ready to be like modernized at the cost of its people and environment and culture. Basically, is the whole gist. You cannot force an industrialization on that scale. Otherwise, you risk destroying the planet and its culture. The people have to and the planet have to like be ready for that. You can't just do it. And it's the whole trying to portray the Republic as like not perfect and sometimes imperialistic in Star Wars is always a thing that I enjoy because I guess it kind of alludes to this is what the Republic is going to become in like a few years under Palpatine.
Yep. Which. With that, I mean, I guess I meant to reword what I was saying to you is that not in Star Wars media, but that is like a core theme of Star Wars imperialism.
Yep.
Just like in the OT itself.
Imperialism has always been this core theme of Star Wars, and like the dangers of imperialism and what it poses to like people. But I think that's my take. A lot of hits, some misses. Like the art is definitely has a lot of goofy like panels, like the panel at the end of like Kiadi Mooney's friend. He's talking to his friend, and there's like the side profile of the dude's like double chin, and I was like dying laughing. That shit was so stupid. We didn't need to see this guy's double chin. It's like fat sacks. Bro, looked like he just ate a fucking
dude.
Big Mac.
It's awesome.
A whole greasy ass Big Mac.
A whole greasy ass Serene Big Mac. But yeah, those are my thoughts.
Tidus, what's your thoughts?
Well, hold on 1 second. All right. When I reread this, I was expecting to hate it. I expected to find this shit boring as hell. Surprisingly, I did not hate it. 5 years ago, I found this terribly boring, and I remember falling asleep reading this shit, and I had to wake myself up 3 times to read it, something like that. But I'm not gonna lie and say, oh yeah, this is an exciting comic. Like this shit is not exciting. It's really not. It's just that I understand the story, and it's like it was like passable. It's kind of like how do I describe it? It's kind of like food that is edible, but it has no taste. It's like it doesn't really have like much texture, but it's not like food that's gonna make you vomit, you know. That's kind of what this comic is like.
It's a great analogy, by the way.
I mean that's the best way I can describe it. It's like it's food that is edible, but it's not shit enough that will make you just projectile vomit, like just from the taste of it. But anyhow, I liked kind of piggybacking off what Kim was saying. I like that the Republic are portrayed as villains. Syria, they're a traditionalist society, and they're grappling with progression, and they're kind of like pressured by both the Republic and both the youth, which are just, I don't know, they're rebellious because they're young. I mean, the comic doesn't really say they're just fucking rebellious. I mean, Kiadi Mooney's daughter, Sylvan, like drew like a fucking mean face in class or something. They're like, oh, okay, I'm worried about her. She's going to rebel. And then Kiadi Mooney, since he didn't give a fuck about his family, is like, my dick's too big for that shit, woman. I don't care. And then,
yeah, that's what he says, by the way.
I mean, he says line for line. He says that.
Yeah,
but,
that's what he
says. But I mean, seriously though, like the comic doesn't really explain why the youth rebellious. It just kind of assumes that since you're young, you're rebellious, and the Republic are trying to play up that. Anyhow, like I said earlier, the Republic are hiding their hand behind their back with the whole technological thing. They want to take their Malleum, but they're just gonna give them shit that's gonna pollute and ruin their world, kind of like destroy their physical culture. I think it sets a good backdrop for the corruption in the Senate that we hear so much about in the prequels, because quite frankly, we hear a lot of that this insane corruption in the Senate and the whole separatist movement. But it's like not many stories actually explore what fucking corruption was there. You know, it's like it's very vague, but it exists.
Yeah.
So hold on.
Before you continue, Titus, I wanted to add to your point.
What's up?
Like the whole these comics, these early like novels and comics do a good job of portraying the corruption of the Republic, and like gives context and like gives us like a perspective as we as the audience can now rationalize why people would want to succeed from the Republic and form their own separatist movement, because the movies make that very fucking vague.
Oh yeah, no, I agree. Like that's kind of like the best thing about these comics. Even like Acts of War, it's like we actually get to clearly see what corruption was in the Senate. Because like you just mentioned, it's like we don't really see much of that in the movies. I mean,
but the films do fuck all to explain it, but these comics add like some world building and depth, and they actually show the corruption of the Republic laid bare.
Right.
I can see why a planet would want to like it's like the whole comic, the Jabin comic for the Clone Wars. Once we get to it, okay, so I can expand on this more. But you can reading these comics, you can kind of like take that idea of like trying to like rationalize why a world would leave the Republic and apply that to Jabim after seeing their corruption in these early pre-Clone Wars comics.
I mean, yeah, it tracks. It tracks all the way through.
Mm-hmm.
And I was gonna say in the case of the movies though, it's like I guess they want you to feel bad for like Newt Gunray or the Trade Federation, but you can't really like sympathize with Newt Gunray because he's a fucking villain. It's like we are initially portrayed. He's initially portrayed as a villain in Phantom Menace. So if he's succeeding to the Republic goes, oh, I cannot survive in these climates. I cannot do this. This is unfair, unjust. It's like, I mean, you're a villain. I mean, why do I care if you're unjustly treated in the Republic when you're shown to us as a villain? You know, that's my point.
Also, the fact that he makes like millions of dollars. I don't know why he's like being negatively affected by the crowd. Like the dude is a corporate like greedy like pig.
Well, that's kind of the thing. Is like the Republic are like kind of squandering his monopoly. The Trade Federation is just one big monopoly for him. And they're like kind of encroaching on that, so that's why he's tweaking. But it just goes back to my main question. I mean, why would I care? Why isn't not just me? Like, why does the audience care or should care that a villain isn't getting what a villain wants? You know?
Yeah, it's unsympathetic. Like I don't care that he's not getting like the things. He's like, I don't give a shit. He's a horrible person.
Right. It's right. Like you can't really make a character like that and like say, guys, you gotta understand, like the separatists, like they seceded because of people like him.
The only way that works is if like the villain, the plot of the show is so fucking bad that you want to root for the villains. Ahsoka.
I mean the prequels are not even that bad though, where it's like to the point that you're rooting for the villain. It's like Newt Gunray. No one is rooting for Newt Gunray. I think. I'm just saying it's like you don't look at Newt Gunray and say, oh yeah, those are the people that want us to see from the Republic. It's like the people that want us to see from the Republic are all characters off screen, dog. It's like every separatist that we know that had a valid reason for secession, they're not in the movies.
Yeah.
Hell, they're not even really hinted at in the movies. It's like I don't want to go off into that. I'm just saying that like there's no grounds for Newt Gunray to be sympathized with. No grounds. But like I mentioned earlier, Braun is like this human Republic proxy who's trying to basically radicalize the youth into pigeonholing the elders into giving into the technology. This next point I had to kind of think about because I think it makes sense, but I didn't know this guy's name, so I didn't want to quote him on something that I didn't remember or couldn't recall. But in shows like Andor or A New Hope, we see the Empire reform Coruscant as this like heavily industrial world, and it's got a little cultural diversity, like little aliens are less running around and shit. Like they're in the slums, of course. It's just like life. It's very bleak. I guess which is normal for Coruscant, given that it's already like a metal planet. Like it's already industrialized heavily. But when the Empire kind of like takes over it becomes like sucked out of life. It gets sucked out of what little coloration it already has in the prequels. But this guy's name, who I can't remember, he wrote this book on A New Hope, analyzing it, and he said in a really like flowery way that I don't give a shit about or I don't really recall. But he said that the Death Star was a mechanical mockery of a planet, something posing in an image as like something natural, but actually being like an object of corruption. Which I kind of think is what's happening here, where the Republic are trying to offer something that's a natural progression, but it's actually a corruption of Syria, the planet. So, like I said, like Kim was saying, it ties into the Empire. Like this is representative of what the Empire would do. And I think that this heavily industrialization, the sucking out of life, it all kind of comes full circle. So Ki-Adi-Mundi as a character, I think he's entertaining. I mean, like he's not like Mundi, I enjoy these comics, these Republic comics, but I would not want to sit and read Prelude to Rebellion Mundi. Like, he's quite frankly not that interesting. He's just he's aloof. He's I guess he's driven by duty, but I mean that's kind of it. The comic plays up his disdain for the youth, which are flocking to the progressive techno movement. His daughter Sylvan happens to be part of it, and he has a mini arc, and the fact that he wants a son in his family, since through all his wives, he's only been able to obtain daughters. By the way, we only see Sylvan out of the 7 daughters, by the way, and there's like still no images for the other 7. But he's not content with the family he has, and he treats his wives any type of way because he's not satisfied with not having a son. He treats Sylvan any type of way, and that's kind of why I would assume she rebelled, because he's not really present as like a father. Like he's just kind of like he's just bitter that, well, you couldn't be born a man, so I don't really give a fuck about you. And then, the conflict of the story brings him to like a life and death situation involving his daughter, which makes him realize that he's been callous and thought his daughter wasn't deserving of empathy just because her beliefs opposed his, or she was wrapped up in a conflict that he was acting against. There's a small Ortolan character named Yid. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I don't really care. He encompassed a similar theme where that beneath his reputation and exterior, and just like, I guess, like the crime sector of like the Citadel, he had nobility and something to fight for. And like in his dying moments, like he actually helped Mundi, despite being a scumbag. He didn't see the nobility in his nobility in his daughter per se, but he did see what his daughter he did see that was his daughter, and he needs to hold on. I'm wording this terribly. He did see the worth of his daughter, and he needed to step up to the plate, not just as what the people need, which is a recurring theme in the comics. They're like, he, without a lightsaber, he feels like he's not fulfilling a duty to what the people need, a Jedi, a hero. But what he then realizes is that she doesn't need a Jedi, she needs a father. So that's when he steps up to the plate, and that's when he saves her. There's a whole emotional reunion, whatnot. She has an inverse realization where she realizes how much she needs him, and realize that being a Jedi doesn't mean you're perfect or infallible, and that as a father, he's only been trying his hardest, even if his hardest is not much. I think it makes for a sweet reunion. And I think that's like the best thing about the comic is like the relationship between them, the kind of like the small arc that happens between the father and daughter. I didn't like the art though. The aesthetic is somewhere between the OT and any 90s comic I could yank out from between my ass cheeks. The pacing is weird. And the Trade Federation's inclusion in the story is kind of unclear to me. They're trying to take contraband from the Hutts, and then they just like fuck off after. Syrian culture isn't really too interesting either, on Be Real. They're just honest working traditionalists. Also the short comics included in the final issues of Young Key, I felt was a bit weak with his resolution of him not killing the bandit that terrorized his father. It's meant to be like his big Jedi moment of letting go of revenge and taking pity, like Yoda suggests. But it's not executed in the best way. That's kind of what I feel. Maybe if those comics had been moved to the beginning, if the comic had been structured like we see Mundi as an apprentice first, and then him as a Jedi Knight, then it'd be maybe a little bit better. But I think sandwiching at the end, it's kind of sloppy. But after that, I mean, those are really all my thoughts I have about the comic, I'm gonna be honest.
Well, fair enough. I don't really have anything else to add, to be honest with you. Do y'all have anything else I'd like to add?
I wanted to touch on one thing about Mundi's characterization. I think this comic highlights the fact that not all the prequel era Jedi are these stoic, emotionless, stone-faced like characters that we see in like the films. It's like Mundi actually is like a human character that has like these feelings for his family, like bad or not, like whether or not he gives a shit about his like wife and kids or is misguided at first, you still see this side of him. He's not like this. Well, what about the Jordan attack on the Wookiees? Like stone faced, like business. He's like an actual person. It
I
kind of
mean,
just dispels that notion that like the Jedi of the prequels are all like they can't have a family or like. I mean, there's a reason why he has to like because of his culture, but it just dispels that notion that a lot of the Jedi in the prequels are like stone faced stoic, just like monks.
well, I agree, but it is kind of complex in the fact that like he does love them like on a base level before his whole arc, but at the same time he doesn't really love them. It's like
Mm-hmm.
he just kind of like loves like what they represent, what they are supposed to be to him. But his true appreciation does not really come to the end of the story, like what I was talking about. It's like he
Mm-hmm.
doesn't really understand the value of his wives. He doesn't understand the value of his daughters. He's not content. Like he's constantly yearning.
Mm-hmm.
And once he realizes that, I already have a fucking structured family here. I don't really need a son. I can have another daughter for all I care. Like I'm fine. I'm happy with what I got. Like I think he truly loves them at that point. But I do agree, like on a base level, he loves them beforehand.
Yeah, I kind of think the fact that like he has this was like Kiadi Mundi having this arc is like something you'd see with like Luke Skywalker's Jedi Order, like a character going through this kind of like family struggle. This is something more akin to a story in his generation, his order. So to see this like applied to like the old order that was more rigid, I think it just speaks to like the what the author was trying to do with his character. Because like I kind of associate this whole like plot line of his like family with like Luke's order because they're allowed to be with their families at the temple, have kids, have like a life, a relationship. So seeing this was just interesting.
I mean, I definitely could see it because you got to remember this, although this was like a few months or roughly a year before Phantom Menace, this predated the whole attachments mandate.
Mhm.
So for all we know, this could not have just been in like a thing where he was writing a story where Kiadi Mundi had a relationship, but the author could just like made that, well, based off Jedi we see in Tales of the Jedi, based on Jedi that we see in Luke's order. They have
Yeah.
families, they can love. So he's probably writing Kiadi Mundi with that notion because there is nothing saying that Jedi could not.
I see. Yeah, I didn't know that, but I think after the fact, it elevates this. I mean, it elevates the comic for what it's worth. Like it doesn't make the comic like great or like amazing. It just, in retrospect, with the whole like no attachment thing, it definitely makes this comic more unique.
Oh no, it does. Um, the final note I'll add to this, and this is not really in the story, but something from the HoloNet News. It's about Kiadi Mundi though. So, have you guys ever seen a YouTube video where it's like Kiadi Mundi was like a sociopath?
I have, yes. That's the Geetzley. Oh my Jesus! It's the
Yeah,
Geetzley's video. Good
yeah.
lord.
Have you seen it, Lance?
Yeah, I've seen that crap.
So, it's bad because basically Geetzley's misreads the HoloNet News and says that Kiadi Mundi is a sociopath because during the Clone Wars, Syria was attacked by the Separatists and his whole family died. But when Kiadi Mundi was interviewed about it, he gave no serious reaction. Like he said, he spouted like some Jedi wisdom adage. But my thing is, a Jedi knows a reputation that wouldn't publicly display like emotions or affection. Like especially no prequel Jedi. No prequel Jedi would express like emotion or affection on like a public like galactic broadcast like news network. Like no, that doesn't make sense. So it's not that Kiadi Mooney's a sociopath. He's just trying to guard his heart. He's trying to stop himself from like crumbling.
Yeah.
Right.
I was just gonna ask, like, what happens to his family after this comic? And you answered my question. They were all killed.
They're all ashes.
They're all burned to ashes by General Grievous's orbital bombardment.
Hit us.
I think it ties into the whole like Kiadi trying to guard his heart. Ties into the whole like parallel of like Luke's order versus the old order. Is like that would one of Luke's like his kids or like they're members of the order. They'd be more open with what they're going to say to like the Holonet and the news media. They're going to be more honest with themselves and not have to like keep up an image or try and hold themselves back. Which I think is a nice parallel. At least I think.
Yeah. What's up?
I said at least I think so. After like having read all the Luke's like Jedi Order stuff, all those books in that era.
No, I mean, I can buy it. I mean, it only would make sense for them to be more emotionally open. I'm just saying that it's kind of. I feel like for two of the reasons that it's public and he knows that Jedi aren't supposed to display emotions, and he personally may just be wanting to guard his heart, so that's why he doesn't give a comment on it.
Mm-hmm. He's in grief and wants to keep that hidden.
Right, because Shakti has a similar thing happen. It's not really a spoiler. It's kind of like a background thing, but before the Clone Wars or early in the Clone Wars, Shakti had his apprentice that died. And all the sources that talk about it, she was really torn about it, and she was really emotionally distraught and in grief about it. But she knew as like a Jedi, she couldn't show that.
Mm-hmm.
So she just tried to stow that feeling anytime she would think about her apprentice.
Yeah, that definitely is a parallel to Luke's Order. Like, there's stuff I just can't spoil, but like Luke's Jedi Order, they're much more emotionally open, emotionally available. They're not like as stoic.
Well, it's not even like real stoicism because it's like, well, I guess it is in a sense. I'm just saying that like Shakti is still feeling the grief, the emotion, but she knows that she can't break. She can't physically show that.
Yeah, she can. She has to keep up the image of like a strong Jedi. But it's what the galaxy sees, and if the galaxy sees something different, then they like their faith is shaken in the Jedi. If they see like the Jedi breaking down and crying, then their faith in like the Order is like was shaken. Of like what a Jedi is supposed to be to the public is questioned.
Right. Mm-mm.
Well, I think that's all we've got. I know I didn't add a whole lot, but I just didn't really have a lot of thoughts on this book. So next episode, we're going to be doing Outlander, which is issues 7 through 12, I believe. I checked before I did the stream. So that comic looks a lot more exciting because it has I think, well, I don't know if it's a Sherrod or Sherrod head on the cover, but one of the Sherrods on the cover. And it also has Aurra Sing on the cover. So that should be good. And it does make sense why this is like, this story takes place first. Because, I mean, a Sherrod head is Ki-Adi-Mundi's Padawan, right, Tidus? Is that right?
Yeah, he's one of his Padawans.
Yeah. So this is just kind of setting up his storyline, which of course we'll see in Outlander. So that's all we've got. Would you guys like to add anything else?
I'd say if you like Ki-Adi-Mundi's character, if you want to know more about him, read this comic.
Yeah, I mean, if you are really interested in Syrians and Ki-Adi-Mundi and all that, read this. I mean, this is perfect for you. So if you don't really give a damn about Ki-Adi-Mundi, then it won't be your favorite. We'll just say that.
I'll be honest. I mean, if y'all watch and want a good Ki-Adi-Mundi story, read Outlander. I mean, like hell, it's like everything Outlander does with him is like so much better.
Well, in that case, I'm excited to read it then. So that's all we've got. We're going to be continuing this before, like, I want to call this series Before the Dark Times. I think it has a good ring to it. So that's what we're going to call it. Yeah, so that's all we've got. Now, I also do want to say, like, if we ever get to like another Clone Wars story, and I mentioned it in the description of the last video, but if we ever get to like a Clone Wars story that we should probably read like another story that took place way beforehand. Let's say, whenever we're done with the 1998 stuff, we'll come back and we'll do another episode if we have to. So this, not only is the series good, so we can read this stuff and get, aware of what's going to happen in Republic during the Clone Wars. It also leaves open, if we need to come back to, if we got to read something else, which I don't think we will, but there's that chance, then we have a way to do that. So anyway, that is all we've got for this video. Thank you guys very much for joining, and may the Force be with you.
Peace.
Always.